welcome back to another AP podcast. I'm your host, Archer Heron, with Peyton, and we're with Braden today. And
What up?
today we're just kind of going to go through our first and second rookie teams for the NBA 2019-2020 season. This year was very odd. It's hard to rank these guys, especially for the way the year ended. I want to say ended in quotations because we still have the playoffs to play, but it's definitely a different situation from years past. So it's kind of weird to look back on the season, but yeah, we're just gonna go through. We have a couple honorable mentions first. So
Also, before that, I'm just going to kind of say how we structured our teams. I think we did them pretty much similar, but we made these teams with either like 3 guards and 2 forwards or 2 guards and 3 forwards, whichever one we wanted to for each team respectively. So this isn't necessarily like the top 10 rookies. Like I was telling Archer, like both my guys in my honorable mention, I think are top 10 rookies, but they just didn't make the all-rookie team because it's pretty much position-based. I mean, we all know how rookie teams and stuff like that works.
Yeah.
And also, we have to give a shout out to Michael Porter Jr. because we were talking about that earlier.
Actually, I might have put him in there.
Oh,
Okay, well, at least for me, I think he's definitely better than most of the guys on my list, but he hasn't really played many meaningful minutes for that really, really deep Denver Nuggets team, and he's been, riddled with injuries for the last couple of years, and he's finally healthy again. So I really like MPJ, but I think we need to see more for him, or at least for me. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
All right, so y'all want to go ahead and get into honorable mentions?
Yeah, you can go ahead and start with yours.
All right. Might be kicking it off a little controversial, but my honorable mentions, I had 2 guys. I had Rui Hachimura and I had Tyler Hero. Let's go ahead and start with Rui. Rui's I didn't really watch a lot of Wizards games, so Rui could be higher for me. But like I said, I think he is a top 10 rookie. But he's just a guy that had a pretty average season. The Wizards were so bad that he was basically the number 2 option behind Bradley Beal. He rebounded the ball well. He shot it efficiently from the field, not from 3 though. But if you look at like the analytics and stuff, he's a pretty bad defender, and he didn't have that great of an impact on the court, especially from a defensive standpoint. Rui's just such a weird case for me. He just seems like a really average player. He's not gonna like catch your eye, but he's gonna go in and do his job every night. I think he can be a starter in this league for sure. But like all rookies, he definitely has a lot of room to grow. And then I'm also gonna say of all the rookies on my list, like I said, I probably watched Rui the least, even though I really like him. And I'm not going to lie to you and act like I was out here watching every Wizards game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to watch a lot more Rui Hachimura for sure in this coming season. But I'm going to end talking about him. I'm going to say this real quick. He scored the ball well, though, and he averaged 13, 6, and 2, shooting 48% from the field, which is pretty damn good, even though they're kind of empty stats. So I couldn't really leave him off the podcast for sure. I had to give him an honorable mention.
Yeah,
and then,
understandable.
Like I said, for Tyler Hero, Tyler Hero, he did a great job of playing this role for the Heat, who are good. They were a good basketball team this year, obviously, and he was a great value pick at 13. He just, he hasn't shown us really much other than the fact that he can be an elite 3-point shooter, and it's just as simple as that for me. He showed that he can be a nice role player in this league on a good team, which is why I'd at least give him an honorable mention, but I definitely need to see him incorporate more into his game before I can kind of put more respect on his name. So like pretty much most of the guys on my list are either like good on both sides of the ball or really good at every aspect of one side of the ball, if that makes sense. But Tyler Hero really isn't there yet. You can't really be a cornerstone piece when you're like a one-trick pony. I like Tyler, but I just like I said, I need to see more from him.
All right. Okay. Well.
Yeah.
All right. My honorable mentions. I had Michael Porter Jr. as well. Injuries have been really tough for him, and we haven't seen really anything, so it's hard to put that together. But we know he's talented, and basically everything Beach said, to be honest. Like, there's nothing really more you can say. I also have Eric Paschall. I didn't think he was quite good enough to make the list, but he definitely played a lot better at the end of the season. His points per game picked up. Everything was on the up and up, and I think he's pretty talented. I didn't kind of see him play a lot, but the stats show a lot. And when he did play, I saw him against the Bulls, and he was all right. I don't think he deserves to be on a rookie team, but he definitely deserves a mention.
Yeah, I guess kind of moving on to my honorable mentions. I have Pascal as well. I don't think Pascal's bad at all. I just, a lot of these guys or at least a couple of guys I put ahead of him, have a pretty decent 3-point shot, and just the clip he was hitting threes just wasn't at the same place. It doesn't help either that he's on a losing team compared to a lot of these guys. And some of these guys are going to have longer seasons, maybe make a better case in this little 8-game regular season stretch. I mean, he just doesn't have the opportunity with these last 8 games and the 3-pointers. Just the percentages from these other power forwards were a lot better than his. And it's hard to – I know it's not just about the 3 ball, but that really opens up your game on offense.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. I had Eric Pascal further. I had him on one of my teams, but I know Archer was kind of talking about not watching him that much, but I watch so many Warriors games just because they play so late at night, and they're like always on TV because they had a lot of TV games because they thought Steph was going to be playing, and they just were in the finals too. So I did watch a lot of Eric Pascal. That's probably another reason why he's pretty high on my list.
Yeah, I don't dislike Eric Pascal at all. I think he's a great player. I just don't think that – I know we're not supposed to use upside on the rookie teams, and he scored the ball well, but for the amount of minutes he was playing, I think these other guys are a little bit better. Just
Yeah.
better, more well-rounded players.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
as well.
and
He
then
just
my
didn't have enough time.
second honorable mention, so I went guard and forward. I have Terrence Davis of the Toronto Raptors.
Oh,
Terrence Davis is a baller, I gotta say. If he had played more minutes, I feel like he would have been there. But he's shooting. Let's check really fast. He's shooting like 40% from 3 basically, and 46% from the field. That's like some of the best percentages out of the guards. Like he's just an incredibly efficient shooter off the bench for one of the best teams in the league. And that's always a great player. So role guys matter, and he does his role very, very well. So I was a big fan of Terrence Davis. Hit some deep threes. But yeah, those are my 2 honorable mentions. And I think if Terrence Davis might have played a little bit more, maybe he could have made this list. But honestly, once we kind of get past these honorable mentions, I feel like the players kind of start to increase. Outside of, I feel like Pascal, you could make a case for being in these teams as well, but with the guards at least.
Alrighty. So for the rookie second teams, or for the rookie second team, I guess we can just go by kind of position because I had 3 guards and 2 forwards.
Yeah,
so,
I did as well.
Yeah. So so you guys want to just like go through it? I'll say all my guards, and then y'all go through your guards, and then we'll do forwards.
All right, that sounds good.
All right. So my all rookie second team. This is in no particular order. My guards were Kobe White, Terrence Davis, and R.J. Barrett. I'll just go ahead and start off with Kobe White. I really liked Kobe and his potential, or I really like him and his potential. And I like his personality too. I mean, he played at an all-rookie first-team level in my opinion. He's probably the best rookie on my second team if I had to pick. But there are just, 2 guards ahead of him that I couldn't put him over despite his huge surge at the end of the season. He's another guy that didn't really start playing his best until midway through the season. And once the Bulls gave him that starting role, he really started to thrive. He's a great scorer, especially from 3-point land, but his efficiency numbers were not that great. I mean, he didn't show that he could be a great playmaker, especially when no guards are really taking assists out of his hands either. Also, Kobe isn't really there defensively, but the Bulls do have themselves a hell of a 3-way scorer with nothing but potential. Also, one last thing, I do want to see him improve his playmaking and his defense, especially if he's going to be in the backcourt with a defensive liability like Zach LaVine. But ultimately, I really like Kobe's upside, but he has a lot of room to grow, and hopefully the front office change can help him do that.
All right.
So, yeah. And then actually, instead, you guys want to just say your first guard, and then we can just keep going. So it's not just like me talking for a while.
All right.
Yeah,
sounds
that
good.
sounds good. So Archer, I guess you can go with your first guard.
All right. I had Tyler Hero as my first guard. I definitely don't think that we got a lot from him, especially he was kind of banged up at the end of the season. But one of the biggest parts of his game that I liked is kind of he has this air of confidence around him. He doesn't – when you watch him play, he doesn't look like a rookie. He kind of looks like he's been there before, like he's done it. And I think that's pretty important. And you're right. He has the potential to be a great role player. His 3-point percentage is great. He was shooting like 39. Like you said, Peyton, that's up there with like some of the best from the guards. And I just really like Tyler Hero he's a good person to have in your locker room. I think he's a nice guy who can kind of help grow a nice I don't want to say community at all, but like kind of just a good locker room presence all in all.
Yeah, I agree with that. My first guard on the second team's Kobe White as well. Basically, the same reasons for Braden. They're just the guys ahead of him. I just think are more versatile, like on defense and offense. He isn't the best defender in the world, and the guys in front of him, it's just hard to put him higher than them. But yeah, I gotta say Kobe White at the first guard. He's a great scorer, great potential. I think him and Zach Levine will be good if one of them can learn to dish the ball out a little bit better. Maybe get some help on the wings because it doesn't really help with some of the guys they have. I guess Laurie's good, but it'd be nice to see Kobe kind of get some more assists. Towards the end of last year with UNC, though, he did kind of start to pass the ball a little bit more. At first, he was kind of just driving to the rim, so hopefully he can get that same kind of ability to find teammates back. But yeah, and so let's go ahead and move on to the second guard for this list. Braden, who do you have?
All right, I already kind of talked about. I already mentioned his name, but I had Terrence Davis. Before I talk about him at all, I'm tipping my cap to the Toronto Raptors entire organization because I don't know how the hell they find these undrafted and second round guys and develop them into what they are today. Like, just to name a few: Terrence Davis, Matt Thomas, Chris Boucher. There's a ton of guys. I don't think on their championship team when they won the ring last year, I don't think they had a single lottery pick on that team, which is crazy. But for Terrence Davis, his stats might not be eye-popping, but when you consider his impact at such a young age and consider the fact that he's playing on one of, if not the deepest team in the NBA, it's certain that he's got to be on this list. He was incredibly efficient shooting splits, like Peyton said. Shot 46% from the field, 40% from three, 87% from the free throw line, and his two-way play really kept the Raptors in games. And with Norman Powell's injury, kind of towards the middle and the end of the season, Terrence Davis, he just found himself closing out games. And the Raptors obviously benefited from that because they're one of the best teams in the league. And, I mean, it's not often that the defending NBA champions wind up with such an impactful rookie. And I just love Terrence Davis' story. I mean, ultimately, his two-way production, despite how deep the roster is and his draft stock, I had to have Terrence Davis on this team.
Yeah, I really like Terrence Davis too, I will say.
But I do want to see him play a lot more minutes.
Yeah, me too.
All right. I also had Terrence Davis. I think he's kind of a consensus guy. I'm surprised, Peyton, you didn't have him. Did you?
I love Terrence Davis, but I don't know. I think there's some guys that are better than him.
He's on your honorable mention, right?
Yeah,
he's on my honorable mention. He was my first honorable mention, though. So, like, he was like, I took him out kind of last.
He was
minute.
on the edge. Yeah,
I've got kind of a guy that would shock you a little bit, but we'll see.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I just think Terrence does what he needs to do perfectly. I mean, definitely a little bit more minutes would help, but I think that his shooting is great, and that's what they got him for, and they got him for nothing. So he's doing what he needs to do, and that's kind of paying off. So I think that's
and he's on a really valuable contract too because he went undrafted, so they're not having to pay him that much money. They got him locked up for like 2 years, making like $800,000 a year, which is really cheap for a guy of his production level.
Yeah. Okay, so we're on the second guard. I had Tyler Hero. You guys both already talked about him. Only reason he's on the second team is you can't rely on him on defense, but he's got great defenders around him, which I think has kind of boosted him, I guess, on defense. He doesn't look like as much of a liability, but he's on the second team just because I feel like, as Archer was saying, kind of the presence he has is just incredible, and he's hit game-winning shots. He's got the it thing, whatever that is.
The factor.
He just seems to make shots when they need it most. But yeah, Tyler Hero is a good player. I'd say second team's probably where he belongs, but I understand leaving him off because of the defensive end of the ball is not super strong for him.
Also, I can't put him on my second team after that haircut he got. I know y'all saw that like braided fade thing.
I don't think he has it anymore.
I think he got rid of it.
Yeah, the internet bullied that off him, bro. That was horrendous.
Bruh.
What is going through his mind, dude? I don't even know. All right. Archer, you up?
No, it's you. It's your first forward. Yep.
Okay. Well, this guy.
Third guard.
Third guard. Sorry.
Forward. Third guard, first forward.
This guy kind of is both basically guard/forward, but yeah, like I said, I have RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett is a tough case for me. I know I talk a lot of crap about him in the Xbox party, but we got to realize that he is in a
You
tough
do.
situation. He had a lot of pressure, going into the season as he was picked third, and he has to go play in the mecca of basketball in Madison Square Garden in front of a bunch of sad Knicks fans who are pissed because their team sucks. But all in all, RJ had
That's
a
a
solid
perfect way to
season.
put it right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, RJ did have a solid rookie season. I know I bash him a lot, but he was pretty inefficient as he had the ball in his hands a lot, as most top 3 picks tend to. But, I mean, he was decent on both sides of the ball. He filled up the stat sheet, but like I said, didn't shoot the ball well. He did finish the season off strong, but before that, he had some really low lows and played some awful minutes, not only from a statistical standpoint, but also from an impact standpoint. I mean, I would say he really showed a lot of promise, but there still are a lot of questions that he faces. Like, can he be the guy to rebuild or to build around, or is he more of a complementary piece? But, I mean, it's no secret that the Knicks were bad this year. I think RJ will thrive with a better team around him for sure. And I especially think he needs a good playmaker by his side. Pretty
Yeah.
sure that most of his assisted buckets came off passes from Julius Randle. Yeah. But I'll finish by saying, even though I hate on him sometimes, I think he can be a nice two-way player that will be able to score the ball well if the Knicks could build a proper team around him.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I agree. I have for my first forward, I have Rui. I think that being on the Wizards, as we know, are dog off. They are horrendous. I mean, there's not a lot of
They got invited to Orlando.
good things to talk of. I mean, there really just aren't a lot of good things to talk about the Wizards. I mean, he really said it well. He is almost a second option on that team. But I think he handled it well. He shot pretty well, and he averaged a good amount of points. I mean, in all, I think he has a lot of talent and a lot of potential going forward. I'm not going to lie, I didn't watch him a lot, so I can't really speak on his defense too much. But from small clips I've seen here and there, he looks pretty good on both sides of the ball. So I definitely think that he has a lot of room to grow. And on that Wizards team, hopefully there will be a little bit more focus on him, because I feel like if he was on a team like the Heat, he wouldn't be able to grow into what he might become in the future with all those people around him.
All right.
And he also has the whole country of Japan behind him.
Backing him.
I know. Like, he's up there in jersey sales just to Japan.
Yeah.
Before him, the only Japanese player in the NBA was Yuta Watanabe, and that's not really a jersey that's going to sell
Rui Hachimura. Sounds
Yeah.
a little better off the tongue.
Yeah, it rolls off the tongue well. I think Rui's I think that definitely has a lot to do with his popularity. But I think he can be a pretty good starter in this league.
Yeah.
All right, so the third guy I had on this list was kind of like a small forward guard kind of combo, just because I didn't want to have another small guard in this position.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a guy that I guess will kind of shock you a little bit. I had Kevin Porter Jr. The reason I have Kevin Porter Jr. Now, I realize he's not on a good team, but I feel like that's the reason that he should be on here. The fact that he even got the amount of shots that he got is impressive with the lack of passing on this team. It was dysfunctional the whole year. Their coach left midway through the season. And this year was purely raw talent for him, I feel like, because of his situation. Everything he did, he had to do on his own, essentially. He didn't have help from any of his teammates, really. I know they had Garland and Sexton, but neither of those guys were really passing the ball well. Kevin Love obviously showed he was frustrated. The coach didn't work out. But, I mean, he's averaging 10 points. That's not bad at all. He's got 3 assists. That's top 3 on the Cavs. Or no, 2 assists. That's still top 3 on the Cavs.
That's sad. That's so
but,
sad.
I honestly think the reason I put him here, it's almost like a pity pick just because of the lack of a team he had this year.
And he still could produce.
And he can still produce with no one passing him the ball. And it's just impressive to me that he even scored this year. I feel like no rookie on that team outside of Garland, because he brings up the ball, would be able to score on a team like this. He's incredibly athletic. He's a decent 3-point shooter. I just like everything about his game. He's really well rounded. He plays decent defense. I think he's going to be really good in the future. I feel like he was one of the steals of the draft. If not the steal. He's also 19, so he still has a ton of room to grow. I really like Kevin Porter Jr. I know he's not talked about a lot because he's on the Cavs, but I personally think just the versatility he has and his ability to create his own shot, at least he's learned to create his own shot this year. I feel like that's going to be really valuable down the road. And that's why I have him on this team.
All right. Good learning
Like you said,
experience.
yeah, Peyton, like you said about the draft, I'm pretty sure like I usually do a lot of research about the draft. I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be either like a lottery pick or like a top 20 pick, and he fell all the way to the end of the first round. I think he definitely was a steal. I don't know about steal the draft, but I'm gonna touch on that later.
I feel like the age is the reason he's a steal of the draft because the guy you're thinking of, I'm pretty sure, is like 4 years older.
He is 23, but so I mean, but like on a team like the Cavs, I mean, somebody's got to shoot the shots, right? And like I said, he was kind of a guy that was supposed to go high, and the Cavs did get a steal with him. And I think that I didn't even consider him for my rookie teams, but you made a good case, so I don't know. I might revise it.
Yeah, I just think with the amount of and especially the attention that the defense gives him. I know Kevin Love's an issue, but like they don't really feed the ball down low. I just feel like a lot of the attention's on him on the offensive end too, because the Cavs aren't going to pass, and I see teams like shading towards the guy with the ball, forcing them to pass, and it never really works out.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what the Cavs do, especially if Drummond opts back in, which he probably will, because a lot of teams lost money, so he won't be able to get as big of a bag as he would have if he opted out of his player option. And then deciding if the Cavs want to keep Kevin Love, he's got a big old contract. If they want to trade him away, see what they do with Garland and Colin Sexton. I mean, they got a lot of things to do, but I think when all the smoke clears, if Kevin Porter's still there, he can definitely be a solid piece for him.
Yeah, I would say that was kind of my sleeper pick of this, like, rookie team draft in a way.
Yeah, that's fair. For
But
sure.
I really liked just the games I watched Kevin Porter. I only watched him like 3 times. He looked good, athletic. He can shoot pretty well. I don't think he's definitely got potential, and just the fact that he was able to find his own shot on that team was impressive.
Yeah, I can't really speak on him much just because I didn't even pay attention to him or really watch him at all. But you did make a good case, like Beach said, so maybe some revisions.
Yeah, I had Terrence Davis ahead of him at first, but
Oh, wow, that was the last minute change.
spiced it up a little bit. I just spiced it up a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely would not put him over Terrence Davis. So I don't know. All right.
I feel like he's going to have a bigger role than Terrence Davis. He already has a bigger role. More of the defense is focused on him. I feel like Terrence Davis is kind of just – I know he's great inside too, but he's kind of just more of a spot-up three-point guy on that team. It's easier to score if you're a role player and a really well-run offense than if you're one of the main guys on a team that really doesn't have an offense outside of isolation.
I wouldn't call Kevin Porter Jr. one of the main guys, though. I think if they switch teams that –
I think on the Cavs he is.
I don't know about that.
Him and Tristan Thompson, I feel like, are the guys that get most of the shots. And Sexton, I guess.
Yeah, Colin Sexton. Darius Garland still averaged like 14.
Really?
So,
14 points? I did not
13
realize.
or 14, yeah. So I don't know. I think if they switch spots, though, Terrence Davis would definitely thrive a lot more. And
Yeah, Terrence Davis definitely needs more minutes. I was just basing it off of, like, Terrence Davis.
Yeah,
also
like what they did
like
this year. That's how the rookie teams work. But yeah. So
right.
am I up?
Yep.
All right. First forward, I'm going with DeAndre Hunter. Like a lot of rookies this year, DeAndre Hunter started off the year god awful. Like at one point, he was shooting 25% from three, and he was shooting horrible on wide open jumpers too. But as the season progressed, so did DeAndre Hunter. He got his efficiency up significantly, and I think he finished the season shooting about 35% from three, which is pretty dang good. So he got his efficiency up significantly. He continued to be an incredible two-way player for the Hawks, but people do overrate his defense to a degree. I think he is a good defender, and I don't know. I think his defense is pretty overrated. I know we hate the ESPN stats around here, but both his block and steal rates rank among the worst at his position, below the 25th percentile in each category. I know the advanced stats don't tell the entire story, but he was not necessarily as positive defensively for the Hawks as people think, if you know what I mean. Especially compared to Cam Reddish, who I didn't even consider for this list.
Yeah, no, that's the reason I didn't put him on here. I watched, I guess, a couple Hawks games this year for some unknown reason, and he just could not defend.
Because they played the Pelicans?
No, they didn't have the Pelicans.
You say you didn't have DeAndre Hunter on your list?
No.
I don't have him on mine either.
I mean, he's a very versatile two-way player.
Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's a two-way player.
All right. I mean, if you have Kevin Porter Jr. over DeAndre Hunter, DeAndre Hunter, he's a really versatile two-way player. He can hit the three ball efficiently. He can guard almost every position. He's a good rebounder for a small forward. I think he has a pretty high ceiling, but I do think drafting him at 4th may have been a little bit of a stretch, maybe a little too high. But I do think he definitely fits in really well with Atlanta, especially alongside two guards that are not really defensive-minded. Or Trae Young is a liability defensively, and then Kevin Huerter's not much better. So I think he definitely, from a team fit standpoint, I think he definitely deserves to be on this list, and he is for sure a top 10 rookie in my opinion.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have said top 10 just because I don't know. I just watched him a couple games and he just did not defend well. Granted, he is playing the most minutes, I'm pretty sure. I think he's like 32 minutes a game out of all the rookies that I had kind of in this category. So he's getting the most amount of minutes and he's still shooting a decent clip. But I feel like that's kind of takes away from the points per game when a lot of these guys are less minutes and more efficient. So that's why I didn't have him on my list. He just, for the amount of minutes he played, the points weren't as impressive. But I do understand the defensive argument. The one game I watched him, I did not see him play good defense. Granted, I'm pretty sure it was like the Clippers maybe.
Yeah, it's hard to account for Kawhi and Paul George playing alongside.
I don't think that
Trae
Paul
Young and
George
Kevin
was
Durant.
playing, but he got
Probably
smoked.
not, honestly. Load management.
So that's the only reason he wasn't on my list. I just haven't seen him defend at the level people say he defends at. He is a good shooter though. So
So are we gonna have to like take a break or something?
Yeah, we're going to in about 6 minutes 30 seconds. So we'll just
all right.
When that time comes.
Back up. We're
All
picking
right.
back up.
Starting back up.
We're on my first forward. I also have PJ Washington. Honestly, Archer, he's not on a bad team. I think most people think the Hornets were going to be terrible. I feel like he's one of the reasons they're not. They were only like 2 games away from being invited to the 22-team thing. I
mean, they're in the East, though.
He's one of,
and they still didn't make it.
They almost did. They were like 2 games away. They were better
so
than
were
the
the Bulls. The Bulls were 2 games off.
The Hornets were supposed to be the worst team in the league. The Hornets were projected to be the worst team in the league. The fact that they were
I didn't know that.
Definitely.
But
and also the Hornets don't have a guy like Zach LaVine.
Yeah.
Their best player is Devontae Graham.
Yeah, and Devontae Graham's incredibly inefficient too. Like he started
they didn't have Jim Boylan as their coach.
I mean, their coach can't be that good.
I know.
I mean, James Borrego's not that bad of a coach. He just doesn't have much to work with.
Yeah, PJ Washington's one of the reasons this team performed the way it did this year. It really, honestly, kind of blew away my expectations at least. And I don't think that that's necessarily Devontae Graham. I think that has a lot to do with PJ Washington. He adds a lot of versatility to that position on the Hornets, which they didn't have earlier. With guys like Cody Zeller. Cody Zeller's not PJ Washington. He can shoot really well, decently athletic. He gets boards, great power forward. That's why I have him on the second team. Reason I don't have him on first team, I got 2 guys that I just like a little bit more.
All right. Beach?
I think he would be on my second team, but I do have 3 forwards on my first team. So
I'm back at it now, and I kind of wish I had 3 forwards, but
All right. Well, my last forward on my all-rookie second team, like I said, not in order, but I had Eric Pascal. He put up some really nice and impressive numbers this year, but he did it on one of the worst teams in the NBA, so these stats are pretty empty. But he did show us he has a diverse scoring arsenal, and he was really efficient just from the field. I know he wasn't from 3, but he was really a steal if you consider the fact that he was the 41st pick. I think the Warriors really did make a really good, great selection with Pascal, and he was one of the only bright spots for the Warriors this year. 2 things he does need to work on are his 3-point shooting, like you said, Peyton, and his defense could be better. But once everyone comes back healthy, he's playing with 2 of the greatest 3-point shooters of all time, Steph and Clay, as well as former Defensive Player of the Year, steals leader, 3 times all defensive first team player in Draymond. So he's got some of the best veterans to mentor him for the future. But for right now, I think Eric Pascal can be a great piece for the Warriors with everyone back and healthy, and he could be a great 6th man to help them score off the bench and compete.
Yeah. All right. One thing I will say about Draymond, I know he gets a lot of hate, but he is averaging a triple single. I would say. So.
And even though he's not having the best season, he still's got a lot of he's got a lot of badges. If we think about it, he's got a lot of badges. That player mentorship feature, if you throw Eric Pascal in there, hey, he could be a good defender. And it's not like his defensive he's not like he's a liability. He can still defend.
Yeah, just not as good as you would expect it to be.
He can defend inside too. He's big. All right, Archer, what are you thinking for your final spot?
I have Brandon Clark on mine. Really just I mean, Beach preaches about him hard in the Xbox party, but
I have a lot to say about him.
I definitely think he's talented for sure. And like, he did not start he started like 4 games this season. He's a bench guy, and he still was putting up really good numbers. Um, I don't really know what else to say. The reason he's not on my first team is I just have some better guys up ahead of him. He's a good player. He brings a lot to the team, but I just think there's some more. He doesn't have as much potential as some of these other guys
Sure,
might
he is
have.
23, so like
Yeah,
is he already has a ceiling? Who
there,
knows?
but I kind of based it more on this year with my selection of him,
Yeah.
just because it is kind of based on this year. But my last guy, I just said it's based on this year. Michael Porter Jr. He didn't play the most minutes this year, but he's elite when he does play. Like his field goal percentage when he starts is just absurd. Like he doesn't miss when he starts. I think there was a game where he had like 20 points and didn't miss a single shot when he started.
Yeah, he did.
Like he's coming off the bench with no rhythm. All these other guys he's playing against are like conditioned and like played. These are his first couple games, and it's been really, really impressive to kind of see him get back into shape while still dominating. He's essentially a 7-foot guard. If you watch him, he shoots step back threes, and he's so impressive to watch. I couldn't really leave him off.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of my favorite players to watch, and he comes off the bench and plays like 15 minutes a game, maybe. I mean, he's just incredible.
Yeah.
He's just like mesmerizing to watch. I don't know what it is.
Mesmerizing.
Me and Peyton were talking about it.
I
think
yeah,
it was we were talking about it. But I think he 100% has a really high ceiling. He was supposed to be the number 1 pick coming out of high school, but then he injured his back in Missouri, and then he fell all the way to 14th, I believe, to the Nuggets. So I'm just gonna before the break, I'm just gonna go ahead and say that I think that the Denver Nuggets' future is all up to what happens with Michael Porter Jr. If he can stay healthy, I think with his ceiling that's going to be the deciding factor on if they could take that next step. Because I think since Jokic is about 25, Jamal Murray is about 25-ish, we've kind of seen what they can do as a team, and I don't think they can get over the extra hump
without another piece like
Michael Porter Jr. So I think that's going to be the deciding factor.
All right, one other thing I'm squeezing in this last minute, is he's doing all of this, I guess, like while recuperating from his back. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been super impressive for me to watch, but. He is one of those guys. They just traded Malik Beasley. I really, really think that the trading Malik Beasley in these last 8 games is going to help his case. His minutes are going to go up a lot, and we'll see how he plays.
Yeah, especially during the 8th game playoff
for all of us.
So, all right. Well, we're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back. So, see ya. I'm ending it right now. So.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, we're back after our break, and we're moving on to the first team. So, Beach, who you got?
Like I said, not in order, but my first guard is Ja Morant. Yeah. What do I have to say? I mean, Ja Morant's the rookie of the year, and he had a historical rookie season. We've all seen the highlights and incredible things he's done. He's one of the craftiest guys I've seen with the ball in his hands. He's an incredible playmaker. He was the best rookie playmaker by far. He can score very well inside. He's extremely athletic and shifty. He's improving his shooting and getting stronger. I mean, Ja's just everything you want in a point guard. He's already one of the best leaders in the league. He turned the Grizzlies team that was struggling for the last few years and instantly came in and made them a playoff team. And we've talked about the it factor, and I think Ja Morant 100% has that it factor. I mean, he's just must-see TV. He brings more fans into FedEx Forum. He's fearless. He gets the crowds into games with his ankle breakers, his incredible passes, his poster dunks. But if I have to find areas of improvement, I'd say his defense, even though he's been pretty good this season in the big moments, like especially blocking Kyrie, that game winner. And also he has to improve size and strength, I think, even though that benefits his athleticism and slitheriness around the basket. But I could talk about Ja all day, and I couldn't be happier that he is the cornerstone piece for my Grizzlies. And I'm excited to see where Ja can lead this young team in the years to come.
Yeah,
all right.
That was
well put. That was very well put. That was like a video essay or a love letter, you know?
Oh, man, I could freestyle about Ja for hours, man.
For days. All right. Well, I have, in no particular order, I have Kobe White on my first team. I think you guys hated on my boy too much. I mean, yes, I know the numbers at a first glance look bad, but he didn't start a game. He started one game the entire season. His February was crazy because Chris Dunn got injured January 31st. And I mean, his February, he was averaging like 21, 4, and 5. His playmaking is very – I know that the numbers, he only averaged 4 assists or 3 point something, but that's a little diluted. I think his playmaking is really good. He can find the open man almost anytime you need him to. And I mean, he can score at the basket just as well as any of these other guys. I mean, he can, after contact, I think he's probably one of the best guys on this list. And his 3-point shot is insane. I mean, he hit 7 threes and a half one time this season. Like, he's been balling
Pretty sure
all
that was
season.
against us.
Was it really? I think
I'm
it was.
pretty sure. It was like one of the first games of the season.
Dude.
But all I got to say, fire boiling.
Yes, I
That's all I gotta say.
understand. Arturas has been like he's doing it so
him
slow.
out.
He just needs
Get
to
him out.
fire him. It's annoying. We need a real established coach. We need some leadership. But
Yeah.
I think once we get some veterans to help him learn, like he did that with he had Otto Porter. I mean, you could
Yeah, y'all
call
don't have bad vets.
Zach Levine.
Like
I
Thad
mean,
Young, too.
Thad Young, yeah. But I think if we can get one big guy and Kobe keeps producing it the way he is, I mean, we can be a lot better. We're a talented team, and Kobe is definitely one of the brightest spots of that team. And I'm excited to see what it can do. So his defense, yes, it needs improving. And especially, like you said, with Zach LaVine in the backcourt, that could be trouble. But I think with a little bit more time and a little bit more training, he can definitely improve because he plays. He doesn't not try. He tries on defense. So we'll just have to see what happens from this point on. But Peyton?
Yeah, I've got Ja as my first guard. Once again, no particular order, but I've got Ja. Just great playmaker. The only thing I could say could work on is his defense. I feel like at least when he goes up against bigger guards, he can get bullied a little bit if they kind of have a post game. Saw that from Drew Holiday a couple times this year. Just was able to back him down.
Well, he's not guarding Drew. Dylan's guarding Drew.
No, he was guarding Drew on like 3 or 4 plays in the post, and we went to him early.
I guess must have been a
And
switch
it
or
got
something.
switched. I think you all started with Ja and Drew. Because I think
Yeah, I don't know why.
hurt ankle the first. This is the second game. I don't really know, but I just know that Ja was guarding Drew on like 3 possessions, and Drew like did a spin move and dunk on. He's just bigger.
Yeah.
If Ja can gain some weight, then he'll be there. I think Ja's a great player. He's a great playmaker, good leader, good locker room guy.
Yeah, Ja does weigh like 170, but
Yeah, like
I think
he's
his
lightest in the NBA.
Only 170? What?
yeah, something like that. I think him being light really helps his athleticism, and like I said, him being able to be a lot more crafty around the rim and stuff. But I mean, like if he's gonna want to improve his defense, even though he's playing with two really good defensive wings, you can always improve your defense. So I think it starts with him putting a lot more weight on, but I'm honestly fine either way.
Yeah, I similar thing for me. I think he's good. I don't know if he needs to work on his defense, but that's the only area he could improve a lot on. And I will say he needs to start asserting himself earlier in games. I feel like he's a little passive until he gets towards the end of games.
The fourth quarter, Ja.
His teammates involved, but sometimes they're down by too much in the fourth quarter for him to kind of rally back.
Yeah, he does like start pretty slow. I do agree. But once that fourth quarter hits, I'm pretty sure he's like
good
top 5
quarter.
or 6 in scoring in the fourth quarter, something like that, which is
like
incredible.
All those points come in the fourth.
Like given the fact that he averages like 18 only. I'm saying only, but still.
Yeah. All right, Beach, second
guard.
All right. My second guard was Kendrick Nunn. He's cool, but I don't know. He kind of clowned. He's kind of a clown. I'll talk about it, but Kendrick Nunn went undrafted, and he somehow managed to be top 2 or 3 in most people's rookie of the year race if you count Zion. But the definition of a diamond in the rough is what Kendrick Nunn is. It's really impressive to see what he's doing on one of the best teams in the East, having to share the ball with a lot of guys, a lot of rookies too. He's a great scorer, and he can play make well when he has the ball in his hands, but he doesn't really have the playmaking, like the task of playmaking on that team. He does shoot a lot, but he's a really like gritty defender, even though he might not be the biggest guy out there. He always brings like that kind of toughness and that grit, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And he's been consistent in just the things that the Heat need. I think he's like the perfect point guard for that team. especially with Jimmy Butler there. But he's also got a great value for the Heat as he was undrafted, kind of like I said about Terrence Davis. But Jimmy Butler's not going to be around forever, and I think once he's gone, the Heat are going to really be in good hands with a duo of Kendrick Nunn and Bam. But he is a clown for saying he deserves Rookie of the Year of a job. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's all I gotta say.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, that was a bit outrageous.
Yeah,
That's
I don't know about that.
And he said his reasoning was because they're in the playoffs while the Grizzlies were also sitting at the AC.
That's nothing to do with the Rookie
Well,
of
the
the Year.
Grizzlies might not be in the playoffs by the end of the year, so we'll see.
That's
Oh.
That's another pod. That's for another pod.
It is.
You guys can get into that later. But I've got Ja. I mean, as you guys have both talked about him, Rookie of the Year, in almost everybody's eyes, unless you're insane and you think Zion deserves it.
I think
It's
Ja,
Rookie of the Year, not Rookie of a third of the year.
I think
yeah.
Ja
How many games
deserves
did he
it.
play? 10.
19.
Ja deserves it, but you can't discount what Zion did. I think if Zion gets if we go 7-1, 8-0, 5-3 or whatever in these last 8 games and make the playoffs, and Zion plays incredible, if he averages 30 over those games, he'll get Rookie of the Year. There's still a shot. It's not like Ja's. Really, you don't think there's a shot?
I don't think it. I think it's
So
the race
we
is
would
over.
play the Grizzlies 3
I think
times.
people have already made up
race
their
is over.
mind. That's the thing.
But in that scenario, they play the Grizzlies 3 times. If Zion wins
Twice, I
every
think.
time and averages 30, and Ja doesn't play well, then
Average
I
is
mean, it's just a
30.
games played thing. It's just a games played thing.
I understand that, but with these last 8 games meaning so much for both of these teams, I think there's a shot. I'm not saying he's going to win it if that happens, but he's already averaging 24 on 29.7. He had minutes restrictions to start, is what I'm saying. So if he can improve, get his minutes up and he's in shape by the time he comes back, and the Pelicans go on a little run, or we beat the Grizzlies every time we play them and we make the playoffs, I think there's a shot. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but I do think there's a higher. I think he's not going to get swept. It's not going to be unanimous.
Yeah,
we're gonna agree to disagree.
yeah.
I think it's
I
over.
think it's going to be unanimous.
Yeah. I don't know if it's gonna be unanimous because there's gonna be that
If
one.
Zion plays that well. If Zion plays that well.
If Zion plays that well, it won't be unanimous because they're gonna be those stupid. The voters how they are. They're gonna be the one.
You know
guy
how
who's
they
gonna
are,
see,
man.
oh, it's a Zion Williams. I'll give him that little vote. Give him that little tally just because of his name.
Just take away the
I
unanimous
don't
from
know.
Ja.
But I still think
Before the
if he,
season
I
ended,
still think it's not gonna be enough games because if he plays another 8 games, that's gonna be 27 games, I believe. And then they don't account for the playoffs in the Rookie of the Year race.
doesn't count for the play-in. What about the play-in game for the 9
Who
8?
knows? Who knows?
I don't even.
That
It's just so much uncertainty. But
Yeah.
yeah, that will count. But I don't know if they're gonna take that into account for the Rookie of the Year or any of the award races because it's technically playoffs because whoever loses that series is out anyway. So I think, and if Ja plays all these other 8 games, I think he played 59 games, so it'll be 67 for him. So you can't really 67 to 29, or I guess 27.
I'm just saying, if Zion averages 30, and the Pelicans make the playoffs, they would have beaten
That's
the Grizzlies
a big
twice.
if, though. Averages 30
I know.
wins every
I'm saying
game.
it's a long shot. It's a long shot, but he still has a chance. I'm just saying it's not as clear cut as people think because Zion still does have a chance. It's not a big chance.
I just don't think they're gonna discredit Ja after everything he did.
I think
He's
that
literally the
most
main
people
guy.
have already decided. He just didn't play enough games. That's the only reason. It's not a talent thing.
Yeah, if he played more games, yeah, he would have won.
I don't know.
But
We'll see how
think
they
it's
play. We already are 2-0 against the Grizzlies. Zion's 1-0 against the Grizzlies.
Well, y'all made 31 threes at one game, but whatever.
Zion wasn't playing that game. Zion's
and then when Zion
exactly
when
the
Zion
reason
played,
he's not Rookie of the Year.
We didn't have Jaren
don't
when
know.
Zion played, so we don't know how that's gonna be an interesting matchup. Jaren and Zion for sure. But
I think Zion might win that one.
I know I'm saying it's gonna be interesting, but
All right.
we could talk about this forever. Let's just
Yeah.
who's up.
Let's move
All right.
on.
Yeah, Ja, really just one of the biggest parts for me is he already looks like a veteran. He already has a leadership, probably the leadership role on his team. I mean, he's in the media spotlight most of the time. I mean, he's handling it really well, and he's still producing. So everything about Ja, like you guys said, he needs to maybe put on a couple pounds of muscle. But other than that, he's got one of the brightest futures in the league. So we'll see what goes on from here.
All right, second guard, Kendrick Nunn. Braden already talked about it a little bit. Kendrick Nunn's a really good scorer. I think that's what he's good at. He's not the worst defender in the world. I feel like in the future, Kendrick Nunn, I mean, he's 24 years old, so for like potential-wise, he's not up there, but this season he did play really well. He was up there in averages. I think he averaged like 15 or 16 points. And he was third in points per game among all rookies. So that's really impressive. And he led the Heat in shots for the majority of the season. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive that a rookie, especially a guy that was a senior, comes onto the scene, is an NBA rookie, who's 24 years old. And like, I mean, it was just really impressive for him to be undrafted and then somehow be the guy that takes the most shots on a third seeded team. So that's why I have him on first team. It's a lot about the wins as well as, he was the guy on that team. I mean, I'm not saying he was the guy,
Yeah, I
but
was about
like
to say.
he took the most shots on that team.
He was one of the biggest factors on that team of
Yeah.
getting them wins. So
He just took the most shots on that team, which
all right,
was the reason that I had him there.
all right,
But yeah,
Beach.
that's who I had at my second guard.
All right. My first forward, no order. I had Zion. When you were talking, I was doing a little bit of research about the 2016, 2017, about all those rookies. Joel Embiid averaged 20 and 8, and he played 31 games. Lost Rookie of the Year to Malcolm Brogdon, but they still had him on the All-Rookie first team. So originally, before I did that research, I didn't think that Zion would have been an All-Rookie player, not because of skill-wise at all, of course, but just because like not playing enough. But I think if if Joel Embiid made it that 1 year, then I think he definitely would make it. But in Zion's case, he's a beast. I don't think it's much of a debate that when healthy, Zion is the best player from this draft. But staying healthy is a big thing for him.
That's the thing.
I really like what he brings to that Pelicans team on offense and defense. Like Ja, he can also get crowds on their feet with his ferocious dunks and his blocks into the third row. I do want to see him expand his offensive game more outside of the paint, but I think he's a great personality to have in New Orleans. But I think his whole career is going to depend on if he stays healthy or not, like all the guys. But he's not a small guy. He's already struggled with injuries in the NBA as well as at Duke. But I think he could be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. So that's all I'm going to say about Zion because I know Peyton's got a lot to say about him. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the only thing I'll say is that
Wait, before you say it, I know you're probably going to bring up that first game of Zion's career when he hit all those threes when I'm talking about expanding this game.
No, so I will say that the reason that I would put him on the first team is because would I rather have him for 27 games in the starting lineup, or would I rather have PJ Washington the whole season? I'd rather have Zion in the starting lineup for 27 games in the year.
I agree.
I don't think there's – if he plays these last 8 games, I don't see how you would rather have anyone else that's a forward at least for this season
Yeah.
for the 27.
Taking
his
their
27
2 seasons
games are better than PJ Washington's every game. And I guess he's not going to have these last 8. But yeah, that's just why I had Zion on the first team. I feel like that was the reasoning I used for him.
All right. Well, I had 3 guards for my first team, but I went with Kendrick Nunn. I think we've talked about him a lot. I'll keep it brief. Yeah, I think he was one of the guys in the Heat who are a top seed in the East. He proved to everybody he should have been drafted, and that he is one of the best guys. He wasn't in the draft, so he's proven himself, and he has a lot of room to grow. So I think he has a lot of potential, and we'll just see what happens to him from here. So
I'm pretty sure he wasn't in this draft class. I think he was in the last one because he was on that. I think he was on that 2-way deal with, or he was in the draft class with Duncan Robinson, whichever one that was.
Yeah, did he count as a rookie, by the way?
Yeah, he did. He didn't play any last year.
Okay, yeah.
Definitely did.
I would say him. Terrence Davis is better than him by a little bit.
Better than Kendrick Nunn?
Better than?
No, better than Duncan Robinson.
Oh.
You made that very unclear.
Duncan Robinson's not a rookie. Duncan Robinson's not a rookie.
Oh, he's not? Okay, good.
No.
Good. Okay. I was just going to say Duncan Robinson is a slightly worse version of Terrence Davis just because he doesn't have the defense like Terrence
Davis.
Davis.
You had me a little confused.
But he's a slightly better shooter.
I thought you were talking about Kendrick Nunn, and I was like...
No, I was like, okay, so maybe Duncan Robinson should have been an honorable mention. He's a great role guy, but no.
Right.
So my third spot on this first team, I honestly did it more positional fit. Looking back at it now, I kind of wish I had 3 forwards. But I have RJ Barrett because he was like a forward/shooting guard, so I just figured he'd kind of fit this small forward role. RJ is a guy that has a lot of potential. I think he was kind of, I don't want to say unfairly because he was the third pick, but he was ousted into a terrible situation.
Yep.
It's tough to succeed on the Knicks at all right now with their owner, just the organizations.
Dolan needs to sell it if they're going to have any sort of success.
Hey, if he hears you say that, you're not allowed back in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, you can't come in, even if you're Spike Lee.
Yeah, him and Kevin Porter. Him and Kevin Porter Jr. are really similar. I feel like just RJ is a better version. Maybe not from the 3-point line, but he does have potential to make those. I feel like he's got a pretty decent shot. He's just got to kind of get the consistency part of it down. But I think I know, Archer, you mentioned best after contact. I think RJ might be the best after contact. He's just so big.
Inside.
He needs a lot more contact. RJ Barrett, if you're going inside, I feel like him and Zion are the two guys that you want.
I mean, I was kind of thinking more of from like taking the ball up and driving. So maybe I was a little wrong on that.
RJ's like a little bit of a point forward. I see that a little bit in him. I just think RJ, kind of unfairly ousted into all this hate because the Knicks suck, and that's not really his fault.
What do you mean by inside?
Just like driving. Just like I feel like he finishes really well on the left at least.
I mean, yeah, he is like he gets like the games where he drives and he's inside. I think those have been his best games. But if you're talking about like inside scoring, with all the other, are you considering like are you talking about like the other power forwards on this list?
No, I'm talking about guards.
Yeah,
I'm talking like other guards.
Well, you said Zion. Yeah, so I was very confused.
I'm saying if I want someone driving, like I don't think necessarily PJ Washington's going to drive the ball, but I'm sure his percentage is better. Jackson Hayes isn't going to drive the ball, but I'm sure his percentage is better.
I don't know. I might take Ja. Over him.
Oh, Ja, I can see that argument.
He's such a crafty finisher.
He's more crafty, but I feel like
you guys sleep on Kobe, man. He's RJ, crafty, dude.
RJ initiates the contact a little bit more than Ja. I think Ja kind of gets pushed back a little bit. I just think RJ's NBA ready.
RJ's big.
He is NBA size.
6'6", right?
I think he's 6'7".
He's a big boy. He's built for it.
If he's running the shooting guard, that's a good size.
Yeah, and he's a good defender too. I think that's another thing that's slept on. RJ was just in a bad situation. Julius Randle was the main guy on that team, and Julius Randle is not one to pass the ball very often. Julius Randle's not a winning player, and Knicks players have complained about him holding onto the ball too much and being a bad teammate. Just a bad situation in New York, and I feel like people got to cut RJ Barrett some slack. He's an incredibly talented player. 3-point shot can get a little bit more consistent. He'll be there.
All right.
Well, my next forward, I had my boy PJ Washington. He's probably my favorite rookie this year that's not wearing a Grizzlies jersey.
Okay.
It's about to be like, damn, what?
That was a big jump from Ja to PJ Washington.
Yeah, that's not wearing a Grizzlies jersey. Let's hold the horses here. Okay.
Yeah.
PJ, I mean, y'all put him on your all-rookie second team.
Yeah.
I think kind of the fight for the all-rookie first team, I'd say PJ Washington is definitely the worst guy on my all-rookie first team. So I was really I was here and there about him or Kobe on my first team, but I just went with PJ Washington just because I like him more. He's a great two-way player, but has a really, really great impact on the floor. He's a really good spacer of the floor. He's a tremendous three-level scorer. He's a gritty rebounder. He's a switchable perimeter defender, as well as dominating on the interior defensively. He's very versatile offensively, and he was also running some small ball center for the Hornets, which I liked. And I already said it once, but I'll say it again. He's such a great shooter. He's literally everything.
Yeah, he
power
is.
Forward, especially like a stretch four kind of
stretch.
Because he's a good defender too. So his stats may not wow you, but he's playing with a lot of guys that can score the ball, like Terry Rozier, Devontae Graham, Malik Monk. Welcome back to the NBA, by the way. And then Miles Bridges, and then they got some centers that can score the ball too. So I have no idea what's going on in Charlotte right now. A lot of craziness, but I think PJ can really be a great piece with a bright future for him. And I hope they can build around him, because who else would they build around?
Yeah, PJ's it looks like he came straight out of 2K. Like, he can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
I really like PJ Washington.
I like him a lot too. The only reason I just didn't see the positional fit, which was, I guess, probably not what I should have based it on.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't want to have two primarily power forward. I wanted someone that could, handle the ball a little bit at the small forward position.
All right. For my next forward, I have RJ Barrett. Peyton, you kind of touched on a lot. One thing I don't necessarily agree with you is that he's NBA ready. I think his body is NBA
His
ready, but
body. Yeah, I
I
didn't mean
think
like his shooting. His
yeah,
shooting's
his
not.
shooting is
He's
not.
very inefficient.
But I think he has the ability to shoot a lot better. There's been people in the past that haven't shot well in their rookie season, and they've progressed and become better shooters as time's gone on. I think he has a lot to improve on in general, and he's already good at most of what he does. He's thrust into a bad situation on a bad team. Uh, I I really like RJ. Like I like him as a person. He's one of my favorite rookies for sure.
Maple
And
Mamba.
Me too.
yeah, I feel bad for him at this point because there's no like if you had to rank each team on a level of hope, their Knicks are dead last.
Yeah.
Man, I wouldn't feel bad for him. He's just a rookie. Like if
Yeah.
you're a lottery pick, you're gonna go to a bad team. And
I know, but
this
it could
year
have
'cause
he could have gone to a better
Pelicans and Braves.
situation.
I will say one other thing about RJ is I know we want him to be more assertive and finish with the left, but it's really tough when you've got a left-handed forward like Julius Randle kind of clogging that left side, and he's not great with his right hand. So I'd like
Yeah,
to see him improve on that
he's
too.
just not in a good situation. The
It
players around him aren't
the team
helping at
around him
all.
is not built for him whatsoever. He doesn't have great. I guess Alonzo Trier might not be a bad shooter, but like he's not.
He
starting.
barely even gets rotational minutes though.
So
Yeah, they definitely need to build a greater team around him.
Yeah,
I like RJ. They got to get rid of Julius Randle. He's taking too much of the left
Facts.
side because he can't finish on the left if Julius Randle's sitting in the dunker spot on the left. It just gets too congested, and I don't know. The Knicks got to
need a-
change something.
They need a better
Yeah.
facilitator too.
for sure. They need somebody that can dish it out.
One thing I'll say is Elfrid Payton might not have passed it as much this year, but with the Pelicans last year, he was a really good assist guy. I think it hurts RJ that they don't have a forward like Anthony Davis. It's hard to get a forward like Anthony Davis, but one that
I
can
was
like
about to
catch him
say.
up. Although Alfred and Julius were on the same team last year too,
Yeah,
so
Julius was a
it's kind
killer
of
in New
surprising
Orleans.
to me.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I think it was also benefiting from Alvin Gentry's system. He was a lot better at getting out, and we had more space, but he just clogs up the paint too much with RJ.
Yeah.
I don't like
All
like RJ being left-handed and him being left-handed.
All right, Peyton.
Facts.
So let's hear your. Is this your first forward or
Yeah,
second
first word.
Okay.
Zion. So Zion's
Shocker. Seriously.
Sit back and relax. Be here a while.
Zion's my favorite guy in this. Got the jersey and everything, but really, I will say a couple things about Zion. As much as I would love to just talk about him the whole time, all this good stuff, he needs to work on his perimeter defense. On switches, he really struggles. His defense in the paint, he doesn't get up if he's guarding a center. It's hard for him to guard some of these 7-foot guys because he's prone to jump. And then once they pump fake him, he won't jump the first time, the next time. He's just kind of got to get an NBA feel. He's not a very skillful player right now, I'll say.
There isn't a very big sample size, though.
Almost all of his shots that go in are off of second attempts, off of his own rebounds. So I will say if this was based on skill, I don't know if he might be an honorable mention. That's why I'm so optimistic about him. He's got so much room to grow, and he's still averaging like 24 and incredible efficiency. I'm pretty sure he's shooting like 81% if you count the second chance points that he gets off of his own rebounds. It's like it's just incredible to me. He's an incredible athlete. I would like to see him improve laterally, quickness wise, and I know the Pelicans work on with the fundamentals and stuff, but I can't say all good stuff about him. He's really got to improve on the defensive end. But the athleticism coming over on help defense, he's great. But if a forward can take him one-on-one, it's decently athletic, or as a solid jumper, it's gonna be hard for him to guard him.
Yeah. All right, Beach. Your last forward.
My last forward. Here we go.
Wonder.
Brandon Clark.
Really,
I think I'm gonna educate y'all real quick.
Okay.
But there's no doubt in my mind that Brandon Clark was the biggest steal of this draft class. The only kind of thing. He's 23. He played 3 or 4 years in college. I know he transferred to Gonzaga from like some other California school. But as one of the older rookies in this year, he came in right away and instantly contributed. He's a 6-man on one of the best benches in the NBA. He's a great scoring option for the Grizz. Offensively, Brandon is one of the most efficient scorers in the league, and he had a historical rookie season from that aspect. He shot 62.3% from the field, and he shot 40.4 from three. Speaking of the three ball, Brandon answered pre-draft. There were a lot of pre-draft questions regarding that part of his game, his three ball, and he was a trustworthy catch and shoot guy for us. And around the rim, Brandon Clark he's that little floater. It's very effective, and he's a very talented finisher. He's a really talented finisher, actually. He's also quite athletic, and his dunks and impressive alley-oops can really get the crowd on their feet. Like we've kind of talked about that it factor. He makes it easy for the ball handler to find them. He puts himself in the right place at the right time. He takes advantage of his cuts. He's an underrated passer too. But that's just offensively. He's also defensively, he's excellent. He can defend the paint well for his size. He's a talented shot blocker. He came out of college as an elite defender, and his impact on that side of the ball has remained elite. He can play the four and also small ball five because he's 6'8", but he is strong and versatile. But he also has a ridiculous impact on the floor. And I'll finish with this. He just has a really high IQ for taking shots and making plays. So in my opinion, Brandon Clark is and should be a legitimate candidate for Rookie of the Year due to the fact that he served a huge role on the playoff team. But if I had to pick something to kind of improve on, like playing on the same team as Jaren Jackson and Jonas Valanciunas, I definitely think he's good enough for sure to start. But I don't think he could play that small forward position at three just because he can't really create his own shot. He doesn't have the ball handle. He's kind of like stiff on that, like, to like create his own shot. And he's not that good of a shooter. I mean, he's a good catch and shooter for like a bench big, but like I
Not
don't
off
think
the
that would
dribble.
translate. Yeah, that wouldn't really translate well if you try to play small forward. So ultimately, great two-way big, and he's shown that he can really be great. But he kind of flew under the radar this year with John's team, which is why you don't hear a ton about him. But his efficiency mixed with his great motor on both sides of the ball and only his first year has established him as a franchise cornerstone in Memphis. So that's what I'm going to say about him.
All right, you got some good words for Brandon Clark. I agree with. I mean, I didn't do as much in-depth research as you did, and you've obviously watched him all season. But I think the age is a pretty big important factor, and being that old, we'll just have to see what happens next year. See if he does have a lot of room to grow, and if he does, then you're right. He could definitely be one of those guys, but only time will tell. My last forward, I have Zion Williamson.
I was about to say someone's missing him.
No, yeah, I have Zion. No reason that he's last. I just put him last because he's one of those bigger guys. But he's got everything you want. And I mean, you're right, Peyton. Like he has so much room to improve from a skill level. Plus, he has everything physically. One thing, he's way too heavy. Your knees can't do that. I don't know anatomically how that works. He's still growing into his body, and like, how much isn't he like one of the heaviest in the NBA,
His
if not the
playing
heaviest?
weight, his playing weight is 300 pounds, but he was listed at
300.
285 before the season.
Well, being 6'8", 300 pounds is no easy task for your knees. We've already seen that, and I think he needs to lose some weight if he wants to have a long, lengthy Hall of Fame career. But he definitely has the talent and he has room to improve from skill. But I think Zion can be one of the best from this rookie class, one of the best rookies from the past couple years. Like, he's just great. I think the Zion factor is going to come into play soon for the Pelicans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. But my last guy, Brandon Clark. I go beach some love. I don't dislike Brandon Clark at all. I think he's a great player. It would have been nice to see him start a little bit, but I understand why he doesn't. He kind of did what the Grizzlies needed him to this year. And if this is a potential thing, I don't know if I have him in the same spot because I don't think his ceiling is as high as a lot of these other guys. But this year he's played really well on a pretty good team in the West. And for him to do this in his rookie year is pretty impressive. It shows that, those years of college kind of helped groom his game a lot, but I don't see as much improvement for him. I see kind of this being his role on this team for a while. He was a steal of the draft. I don't know if he was the steal. I feel like there are a couple guys. But yeah, I like Brandon Clark a lot. Great defensive player, pretty solid shooter. But yeah, I like Brandon Clark. The only thing I guess that I will say is that he's not like he needs to be able to create his own shot a little better. I understand he plays power forward center, but I think with the jump shot that he has, he really could kind of gain some ability to shoot off the dribble a little bit better than he already has. I know he's a great catch and shoot guy, but I'd like to see him kind of.
How tall is Brandon Clark? I'm just curious.
6'8".
6'8".
He's 6'8", and he plays center?
6'10".
Yep.
Dang.
Actually, well, he played center, and then we traded for Gorgie Zhang, and now Gorgie Zhang runs center. But
All
he
right.
still kind of runs center, and he like Jaren, he like takes like he plays center, so Jaren doesn't have to play center because he can't
All right.
rebound.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think he's just a great fit on this team. He's gonna be great for a long time, and even if this is the max of what we see
It's a
from
good
Brandon
max,
Clark,
yeah.
It's good enough.
I'm not complaining at all. Like that's
Yeah.
gonna be great for us, especially in a playoff run. So yeah.
All right.
One quick thing I want to point out before we end it. If we look at the 3-point percent leaders, a lot of them are forwards, so the NBA is changing. The stretch four is becoming the thing.
The norm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
My
So-
boy PJ.
Well, actually, Zion leads the 3-point percent.
All right.
How many is he taking a game?
I think he's like, the thing is like every other game he takes 3.
Every other game, he takes 3. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you Brandon Clark's shooting that peel. I mean, he's shooting 40%, but it's like very rare, and it's like wide open shots. And
MPJ is 42%, and he's never in a rhythm because he comes off the bench. Like Mike Porter Jr. is insane.
yeah, I can't wait to see. I really want to see what he can do in these 8 games.
He's gonna play in these 8 games. I'm telling you, after they trade Malik Beasley, they got to go all in on Mike Porter Jr. They got to
put all the chips forward, dude. They got to go
all
straight
in
first. Oh man. All
right.
Yeah.
That was a great pod, guys. And we will catch you next time. See ya.
Later. Appreciate it.